What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
The presence of this new Peliad was overwhelming, far surpassing the power of any insect general. In fact, she was even more formidable than Zes, the leader of the insect generals who Carrera was battling. Ranga and Datta had correctly sensed the shift. Even if they tried to fight, defeat was inevitable. Yet, the thought of fleeing while leaving their comrades behind didn't sit well with them. Running would mean living with shame, but staying meant certain death. However, there was no time left to dwell on these thoughts.
Enough. You may look different, but you're still the same at your core.
With that, Carrion took the initiative. Carrion chose to unleash his strongest attack, the Beast Roar. Without hesitating, he fired his powerful diffuse-focused particle cannon, regardless of what the outcome might be. Carrion's form shifted into particles filled with willpower as he charged toward Peliad, who remained motionless. It all happened in an instant. Peliad didn't react. But it wasn't because she couldn't move.
What? This can't be.
She simply didn't need to move. Peliad's breath transformed into a toxic mist that enveloped the particle form Carrion. The mist drained his momentum, leaving him immobilized. Yet, Frey didn't believe Carrion was finished at this stage. Taking advantage of Carrion's distraction, she soared into the air and landed behind Peliad. Then, Frey made her move.
I'm going to restrict your movements,
Frey declared as she ensnared Peliad with her Garuda Claw. Frey's magic interference had reached a level so advanced it was nearly divine. It was so potent that it could suppress even Adelman's Necronomicon. This Garuda Claw was meant to seal any opponent's powers, regardless of who they were. Or at least, that was the intention. Though she appeared to be in a dire situation, Peliad smiled. And then, she spoke.
How pitiful. My children were defeated by someone like you.
What?
Frey asked, but was quickly silenced by a powerful strike to her abdomen. Despite coughing up blood in shock, Frey instinctively retreated from Peliad. That instinct saved her life. If she had continued relying on the Garuda Claw and stayed put, Peliad's next strike would have killed her.
I see. You have sharp instincts. That claw weakened me slightly, but I could have killed you with just 2 more strikes. But I understand now. Setting aside power, you have considerable combat experience. In that case, my children's honor is slightly restored,
Peliad said, almost as if she were singing.
I can't believe it. You nullified my claws with such ease. You're truly a terrifying monster.
Frey had reached the same conclusion as Datta and Ranga. This was a place where she would die. The same held true for Carrion, who lay on the ground. Carrion was so drained that he couldn't even make a sound, much less muster the strength to fight back. In this scenario, even attempting to flee wasn't an option.
Damn it, like Frey said, I never imagined she'd be such a monster.
He regretted not recognizing this at the outset of the battle.
But even if I had, what difference would it have made?
Carrion mocked himself. In hindsight, they should have been more cautious when Peliad reflected Carrera's Abyss Annihilation back at them. It was everyone's mistake to think she was just a typical mid to long-range magic user.
Still, it's hard to believe even Milam didn't pick up on this, so why isn't she intervening? No, I get it now. Insect Lord Zelenus must be an even greater threat.
A cold shiver ran down Carrion's spine. And then he remembered this was a battle against Milam. There was only one reason why Milam, who was usually so decisive, wouldn't act even in such a crisis. It had to be due to Insect Lord Zelenus, meaning that they couldn't rely on Milam for help.
So that's how it is, damn it. Then, this war.
He couldn't allow himself to dwell on what might come next, it would be unfair to his comrades. Carrion thought as much and began considering what he could still do to contribute. Frey was gravely injured, though not quite as severely as Carrion. Even in her weakened state, Frey locked eyes with Peliad. She had accepted her fate. Since Peliad was the ultimate force in this battle, no one could stand in her way. Given the circumstances, Peliad would likely target the weakest first. Frey knew she would do the same if their roles were reversed.
I'm sorry, Carrion. I wanted to spend more time with you, but it seems my journey ends here.
Frey steeled herself for one last strike. But then, someone stepped in front of her. It was Midley, facing Peliad to shield Frey.
So that's how it is. The purpose of this special barrier around the battlefield is to absorb the energy of your fallen allies into yourself.
It's not just for gathering energy. I need more power to give life to stronger offspring.
Peliad replied with a smile, turning her gaze to Midley. That was all the confirmation he needed, and he resolved to eliminate Peliad.
If we let her be, she'll create more monsters like the insect generals we've just fought. The real issue is that we're the ones needing an escape plan.
Despite his grim smile, hope still flickered in Midley's eyes.
In that case, defeat me first.
With that declaration, Midley shifted into a deeper stance. He shifted his weight to his right foot, lightly stepping forward with his left. Simultaneously, he clenched his right fist at his waist while extending his left hand as a guard against Peliod. In the next instant, he unleashed his power, starting from the tip of his left foot, propelling his body like a cannonball. He then thrust his fist forward with all his might, releasing a concentrated mass of fighting aura.
Draconic Cannon.
The energy of the earth merged with his own aura, surging through his body from his toes and converging into his fist. He then unleashed this ultimate move, Draconic Cannon. A full-force attack, combining his energy with the Earth's, delivering a divine blow meant for superior foes. This was the true power of Midley, the greater chaos spirit dragon Majin. But, unfortunately, it had no effect on Peliod.
That's an interesting technique. If I learn this, my children will grow even stronger.
With a laugh, she effortlessly deployed a space-altering magic circle to nullify the Draconic Cannon. But this outcome didn't surprise Midley. In truth, he never expected this attack to work. His role was merely to be a distraction. Naturally, Gopta was the one set to deliver the actual strike.
Don't count me out. Take this too.
Gopta sprang from Midley's shadow, timing his attack perfectly with an apocalypse howling, but even that failed. Peliod remained unbothered as she effortlessly deployed another magic circle, nullifying the apocalypse howling as well. The surprise attack, with Midley serving as a distraction, failed to touch her. However, Midley and Gopta still held a flicker of hope in their eyes. A powerful ally had finally decided to intervene. It was none other than Obera.
You've grown too cocky, insect.
With Peliod's focus on Midley and Gopta, Obera had been preparing a lethal strike. She unleashed her second, planet bombardment, of the day. Unlike Midley and Carrion, Obera's power was on par with Peliod's. This attack should have harmed Peliod. No, that assumption was wrong.
Zolorio was a smart one, so I figured you would be too.
What?
No way.
I never thought it would go this far.
Everything was under Peliod's control. There was no time to despair.
I will return the favor,
Peliod said with a smile. The meaning behind her words became clear as a rain of meteorites began to descend from the sky. Peliod had redirected the power of Midley and the others' 3 special techniques, scattering them across the battlefield. It was a wicked act, one that would claim the lives of both allies and enemies alike. Midley glared up at the sky, alarmed.
Everyone, prepare for impact.
Gopta, ever the leader, warned his comrades through the telepathy net. Obera swiftly moved in on Peliod, slashing at her with precision. She aimed to finish Peliod off in close quarters, knowing that magic and ranged techniques were now useless. Peliod frowned at this turn of events. In truth, Obera and Peliod were evenly matched in close combat. Peliod's spatial domination gave her an edge at a distance, but she wasn't particularly skilled in close combat, as shown by her inability to kill Esprit and the others. The plan had been to gain a psychological upper hand and overpower Obera. Yet, Obera wasn't shaken by the failure of her special attack. She was a seasoned warrior, accustomed to battling cryptids and dealing with troublesome foes. Peliod hadn't expected Obera to remain unfazed, but despite this miscalculation, Peliod's advantage still held. By spreading death across the battlefield, Peliod would only grow stronger from absorbing all that energy.
But something's off. I managed to gather the power of my children, but not from the others.
With this thought, Peliod scanned the battlefield and realized she had made a second miscalculation. Milam's forces were being protected by Geld and his troops.
Don't lose hope. As long as we're here, no one will die.
Geld's powerful, reassuring voice echoed across the battlefield.
Right.
The soldiers under Geld's command pushed themselves to live up to their leader's expectations. Even if their shields were shattered and their armor lost, their robust bodies brimmed with strength, shielding others from the falling meteorites. But that wasn't all. Carrera's demons were also active on the battlefield at that moment. Healing magic was being cast across the field, mending the wounds of soldiers. Moreover,
Come on, there's still plenty more to do.
With that cheerful remark, one of the demon chevaliers wielded a divine miracle, resurrection. By placing their faith in Rimuru, they had even learned how to bring the dead back to life. Even if their bodies were shattered, their souls would be retrieved by the demon and revived later. Milam's army kept their morale high because they knew even the dead could return, though there was a time limit. Everyone was fighting with everything they had to complete the mission. Seeing this, Peliod was shaken for the first time.
The dead coming back to life. Such a secret technique exists in this world.
Obera shrugged and responded to Peliad, who was shocked by the revelation.
Yes, it appears so. It was supposed to be forbidden, but it's become so widespread that it's irreversible.
In truth, Obera had been just as astonished when she first learned of it. She had heard about this in the strategy meeting and couldn't help but want to shout, "It can't be," to the heavens. But that's another story. Since the technique had already spread so widely that it couldn't be undone, it was more practical to use it effectively. Obera decided it was best to accept it since it would reduce the death toll on the battlefield to nearly zero. So, Obera had predicted this situation to some degree. She hadn't expected their own techniques to be deflected, but since the damage was only done to the enemy's forces, it wasn't too bad. It was unfortunate that the energy was concentrated in Peliad, but considering that Peliad was the last enemy standing, the situation wasn't as dire as it could have been.
Now then, brace yourself. From here on out, it's a one-sided hunt.
Hunting down and eliminating her prey was one of Obera's specialties. Even while leading a group battle against a formidable foe, Obera's face began to show a confident smile.
What are your orders, strategist Dono?
Midley was also relieved that the battlefield had suffered minimal damage. He hadn't expected such a level of destruction, but he was glad to see that Geld and his team had prevented disaster. With his concerns for the future now eased, he happily joined Obera's command.
I'm in.
Datta agreed enthusiastically. Facing a powerful opponent like Peliad, they had no chance of winning unless they worked together. It was difficult to coordinate with others on the spot without prior training, so they decided to place themselves under Obera's command. Thus, Obera, Midley, and Datta and Ranga were set to face Peliad.
A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Havox, Speed Saber, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Just a Guy, Miss L.W. Hernandez, Jason Martin, Zach Rosen, Jerry Sladek, Ray Perez, Jay, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell, Adrian, Kumo, Sanketh Chelu, T. Bush, JV, Thomas, Christ, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Khalid, Christian Deshazer, Divine C. Harris, Montyboy98, Ruben, Yuki Iki, Gray, Kemal Ebanks, Isaac, Koala King 93, Quilly Buckner, Alver, Normal Defate, Vicente Baharias, Joshua Andrade, L, Gary Miles, Dragon Spawn 666, J. Rule, Leiron Sangkap, Lucas Guet, Jason Martin, Ekotski, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Andre Hamilton, Martin Ramos, Guy Ensley, Simon Rode, Emperor WSA, Miko Espinosa, George Hage, Pratik Bandari, Jackson Early, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadal, Gareth Hashimoto, Steven Madison, Vasto Lord, Marl Barsha, Ralph Ignacio, Efrain Hernandez, William Locke, Kamal Luke, Spencer Candila, Ian Sikibiol, Thanacorn Lee Sawat, KACP9R, The Harv, Drayden Yamauchi, Alex Buthanu, Nathaniel Johnson, Michael Brinkley, Elijah Pierre, Michael Stern. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.